Well, here we go. We're getting ready.
Yay!
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. 3, 2, 1, and we are going here.
Yes, that's right. We are here for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 4, A Man Alone. We are here again here on Live Long and Podcast with a great set of panels, guests,
Panelists.
panelists that we have here. We have my brother, Dave Mater,
Yo, Deep Space
The
Nine. Let's talk about it.
producer.
Yeah, producer.
We have Kevin Millard in the top right-hand corner. He's here to give us his objective views on DS9, all the good, all the bad.
Hello.
And we're also here with Jaemeel Robinson, straight in from work. Just got out of the car, and is ready to talk about some Cisco and DS9 and everything that this episode has to offer.
A Man Alone.
Yeah.
Going on.
Colts, he rushed to talk, get here, talk to us about this episode, which I don't know if anybody could say they've done for about 25 years, that they've rushed home to talk about a DS9 episode.
Hey, it's we're bringing it back.
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back here on Live Long and Podcast. And so we're just gonna kind of go through the episode, get everybody's thoughts about what they thought about it. It's a retrospective, it's a rewatch. It's the first season here of DS9 is certainly not quite fully formed, but they're still able to tell a story. It's almost like they're cookie cuttering it, especially in this first season. And just like we know how to write a Star Trek story. Let's just pump a bunch out so we kind of get an idea of who our characters are. They still haven't fully formed certain people like Odo or Rom, but they're almost there. They're on their way. And so we get a lot of O'Brien with Keiko in this episode. We get a lot of Jake and Cisco. So
don't forget about Bashir and Jedzir Dax.
And Bashir is a horny, thirsty doctor, if ever there was one, on the new frontier because of the wormhole. Everybody's coming to the.
He's single. He's an eligible young doctor serving on the frontier here. In Deep Space Nine.
Look, Dax is, she's too old of a woman for that, though, Dave. I mean, she's 120 years old. I think she looks at sex as kind of like a nuisance.
It's got to be like at least Worf, or Captain Bidet. Like it's got to be that kind of prestige. It's not going to be Bashir. If anybody,
she suits
current form.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just take it around. First thoughts. Everybody kind of give their first thoughts. I kind of given mine already, but we'll just kind of get everybody's initial feelings toward this season, this episode. Dave, why don't you start us off?
Well, it's a classic murder mystery. It's kind of establishing a few things that I think are really important for Star Trek. This is apparently the first one they actually filmed after Emissary, but it aired fourth and third, I guess, in the order of the airings back in '93. I think that it's important. I think we got like a lot of Quark Odo stuff that's established here early on. We see some of the early Jedzir Dax talking to Cisco, them trying to rekindle their relationship as are they friends? Are they are they still that same friendship before, or is this new? And and she's kind of explaining that this might be too hard for him to really adapt to in a lot of ways. So that was a lot of interesting things. We see Keiko becoming the school teacher, which is kind of her de facto role for the first couple seasons here on Deep Space Nine, coming from the Next Generation. She was a fairly prominent character in a couple seasons of that show. So they wanted, I think, to give her an important role over here as not just being. I don't know what plot lines they would give her as a botanist. So making her more active there as a school teacher was a smart move. For this, that this episode establishes. And then we get a lot of Odo here. We get just a ton of who Odo is, how he operates. He's kind of a brat in a lot of ways. He just kind of, Cisco relieves him of command at one point in this episode. And, he doesn't take it so well. He's not very professional.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. For sure. There's a bunch of the murder mystery stuff that's good. Kevin, first thoughts on this episode?
This episode, not my favorite. Not a whole lot happens, but
I'm glad they did it early. It's a good episode to do early in the show, because it's interesting to see how they all act when one of the crew has there's questions about him, right? But they don't trust each other yet, any of them. So it's not as interesting if it's in the later seasons, because obviously everybody knows that Odo wouldn't do that. But early on, you don't know that. They don't know that.
Right.
Only Kira really knows him.
Right.
And
we even have that scene with Dax, who Dax knows Cisco, but Jadzia doesn't not know Cisco. So even they are kind of like, are we going to be friends? I don't know.
yeah,
You know,
it was a good story to establish some more relationship.
yeah, absolutely. It was like a cookie
And
cutter
whatnot.
murder mystery plot that you knew was going to end on in a good way. It wasn't going to be too dramatic. But that's not really why it's a good episode. There are certain things about the episode that work, that we just get to meet everybody. That you need that time, you need that intro, because and sometimes it's a boring episode, but also that also makes it a good episode because you look back to the establishment of characters. Jaemeel, first thoughts on the on this episode, A Man Alone.
Man Alone. Well, it is a relationship episode, even though it's called A Man Alone. And
Can you turn up a bit?
feel that it puts in the work. It puts in the work for the relationship of the different members of the group. But oh my gosh, there are some characters in this episode that are just so cringy. But on the other hand, you have like so many great Odo, uh, uh, Odo. I couldn't think of his real name. Odo Cork scene. Sorry, Odo Cork scene,
Yeah,
which are
yep.
just fantastic. And I think the real strength of this episode, everything else is some Cisco, Odo, Jadzia, Bashir is kind of, jokey. Jake and Nog.
Yeah, Jake and Nog. I forgot about that. Yeah, like there's a lot of this is establishing their friendship. This is like the genesis of the Jake Nog relationship, which is one of the most important things in the show. It's probably the most important thing about Jake in the show, other than him being like Cisco, Benjamin Sisko's son. So
about Jake,
we get another the scene with Jake where like it's after they get caught by the Bajoran security guard, and then they're in the Cisco's office there with Keiko, and Keiko's pitching, hey, this place needs a school, and he's like, I think it's a great idea. It's like, of course you do, Cisco. You get a baby, you get a babysitter, you get somebody to watch your kid. This is perfect.
yeah, it's not going to be like giving people fleas on the promenade, and they'll be turning blue and green and looking quite distressed. They were, and I don't know how the guy knew it was them. He just sees them laughing off in the corner. I guess it's pretty conspicuous, but it's not incriminating necessarily. Could they tie them to those fleas? I'm not so sure.
it was Nog. I think they
Nog.
just
saw Nog. They saw something happened, and they knew he was around, and they blamed him.
Yeah, like Nog's coming up with this stuff, and Rom's just worried about a woman teaching him his kids some things about Earth. Rom is such a dick in this first episode. You're just like, geez, how did he become the Rom that's in like season 6 and season 7? Like, how did he become this guy that's like all meek and mild? And in this first episode with Rom, he's a jerk. He's flat out jerk.
It's true.
All right, so should we start from the beginning and kind of go through it? And
yeah, we can go play by play.
All right, we'll do a little bit of play by play here. Okay, it kind of starts off here with Dax is playing with this big bubble, which the graphics are breathtaking. I mean, and she says it's like this like riddle puzzle game that she's playing, and she's been playing for 120 years. And Bashir walks in, and he's just like hitting on her hard. He's just like trying to get her to dinner, get her phone number, anything he can do.
She wants to be impressed. She's like, show me you do this like meditation thing with the ball. And he sits down, he tries to do it for a second, and he bursts it in 10 seconds or a second, right? Like instantly. Like he couldn't, and so then he's like compelled. He's like, oh, I'm going to do this. But, and of course we don't know at this point that Bashir is genetically engineered. And I guess neither does Sadiq El-Fadil or Alexander Sadiq, as he came to be known. But he definitely should have been able to do this. Just with his enhanced abilities.
But don't you think he would have, like, regardless, like, he would play it off. He wouldn't, like, if he just did it, especially if she was doing it for 126 years, it would look kind of messed up if, like, he sits down, solves it like in no time flat.
No, yeah, I just thought the fact that he turned it on for a second and he failed. Well, yeah, maybe it's just a little. He didn't look too good in the moment, but he doesn't look good in the season. He doesn't look good in the beginning. Bashir's a bit of a. I think I called him a dweeb or whatever. He's so like he's just kind of this like guy who comes around and talks too much and
horny.
Earnest and horny, right? Yeah, I guess that's accurate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's that's all they have for him early on in this. He was horny in the pilot too. I mean, that's just what they are giving him to do in this first season. And it's, I don't know, it just took a while for them to come up with stories. They're like, we'll get to you, Bashir, but we gotta write stuff for Cisco and Kira. They're more important than you right now. It's kind of what I get from the Bashir side of things. Okay, so then we kind of get the next scene is after the opening credits. We get Quark and Odo are sitting at the bar. He's keeping an eye on Quark's business. Both of them notice Chief O'Brien arguing with Keiko at a table on the upper level. So they're arguing about, she has nothing to do on the station because she's a botanist, and how important are botanists? I mean, really. I mean, do you think they would be?
Wouldn't that be a conversation they had like prior to moving?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I'm just gonna wait. We're gonna just start talking about it here while we're already moved in.
Yeah, it's like, and why isn't there a place for a botanist place or botany on the station? I mean, like she makes all these references to the Enterprise. Like, listen, kids can run around unchecked on the Enterprise, but it's different on a space station. It's like, why? Why is it different on a space station? Well, I don't understand the difference. One just moves.
Like, wouldn't she be able to set up a shop? Like, I don't expect the rent in the promenade's going to be super like high, especially after the changeover. So she should be able to set up a shop and at least sell something to pass, like people who are passing by or like coming to the station for whatever reason to see the wormhole. So why can't she be a botanist there? I find that we just kind of moved off that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think O'Brien.
There's more to do on a space station than there is on a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that O'Brien makes a lot of good pitches to her. He says, "Yeah, you can go out there into the wormhole and check out what's out there in the Gamma Quadrant, or you can just start an arboretum here. And whatever comes back from the Gamma Quadrant, you can start to like study and grow here. You'll see the first things coming out." She's like, "I don't need any of your favors. I don't need."
Yeah. She's like, "No, I want my own idea."
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, exactly. A little bit. Yeah, it has to. Yeah. So, and it's ultimately, I think it works out for her character. But I don't think she necessarily couldn't be a botanist. And later on, I guess when she leaves the show, then she becomes a botanist again, and she starts like leaving to go to Bajor for extended periods of time. She's not on the show a lot in sort of like the middle seasons and to the later seasons, right?
But on that station, where it's so metallic and harsh, you're telling me that if there was like a grotto of some sort, like with real plants, like that would be like something I would want to check out every single day.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think it was just like, did they like this actress? I mean, did they kind of get rid of her, like you said, for a while? Was she a favorite of theirs, or was there tension with this character? She never really had a lot of stories about her, especially that were any good.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting with I don't know how how O'Brien came to be the guy that came over on the show, but O'Brien had already had a storyline, and he was married to Keiko, and that was all in place with O'Brien. And so when O'Brien came over to the show, Keiko, of course, comes with him, and Molly, and so they have something to do with this character now, right? We know this person, and so I think maybe they used her more in the first couple seasons, and maybe that wasn't everyone's favorite. We'll see how that plays out as we watch these first couple of seasons, but later on she's in like a couple times a season after that, right? Like maybe a couple.
She doesn't bother me much once she's in it, just intermittently. She's
Rosalind Chow. She's a good actress. Like I always liked Keiko and the character, but maybe not every.
Yeah. I like the character. I just wish they'd written a bit more for her. It just seems like she's like the C or D character that they just bring in every now and then. Whereas I find most of the time they usually make characters a little bit more prominent, like even if they're civilian or whatnot, but not on this show. Like a lot of this, yeah, like relationships like that are kind of like every now and then they come around, like, which is fine. I mean, I guess it's a big station, so you can't do everything, but
the show does throughout its history does a great job of like those lesser characters having their time to shine, right? And like
Right.
eventually develop them. Rom isn't just Rom from the first season; it becomes
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
like like Lita gets her time to shine. Like was it Vic Damone gets his like series of episodes, like a freaking holographic fake person, but he still gets his time to shine. Right?
Yeah, and they
Keiko.
yeah they never really like had her shine. You're right.
I love the episode where she gets taken over by the Paw Wraith, and she's going to destroy the whole station. She's making O'Brien do all this stuff. She's amazing in that episode. But the character of Keiko is, I don't know. Like it depends. Like she's just part of the O'Brien family, really.
Right.
So
right.
there's a lot to that, which comes important. Like it's just a part of the fabric of this show. It's just what it is.
Right. So okay. So Odo's talking to Quark, and he's like, I don't understand how humans could be coupled, like which is very ironic considering Odo's like almost entire existence going into this series is going to be about like one joining with like the Great Link, and then the other one is trying to get in Kira's pants. Those are the two things Odo is doing for the majority of the series, and it's just funny that he makes this comment in his episode that it's about him.
Because
he
makes an incel.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's an interesting parallel. Yes.
Okay. So, so having dinner in the bar is Sisko and Dax, and they're just talking about their new relationship. Sisko has had trouble seeing the young woman in front of him as his old mentor and father figure, Curzon, which was how he had always seen Dax. Dax reminds Sisko that sometimes relationships between Trills and other species do not survive the change of a host. And Sisko says that, that's not going to happen with us. We're definitely going to be friends. I've never understood how Sisko knows Curzon. Do you know, Jaemeel? Like, how do they know each other?
They just had a past history. I don't like. It doesn't ring a bell to mind.
Yeah,
exactly
they don't really.
I'm pretty sure it's that Sisko was assigned as an ensign to guard he was assigned in some way to Curzon Dax as an ambassador of the Federation. They were teamed up for some reason. They were served on a ship together for whatever reason, and they became friends. And they went to a lot of bars apparently, and they picked up a lot of women, and that was kind of like what it seems to be what they did a lot of, and they got into trouble. But apparently they also did some good things. But they don't talk a lot about that. They talk mostly about the debauchery stuff.
Right. So yeah, it's like they never really fleshed out who Curzon was. I felt like, and who he was to Sisko. Yet Sisko talks about him all the time, so it's just strange.
Yeah.
Man all the time.
Well, we only get to see that one episode where Rene Auberjonois plays Curzon, right, as like this, but it's not even really Curzon because it's Curzon and Odo, so it doesn't even give us a full sense of who Curzon was, other than how he's different than in the Odo personality.
Yeah, definitely. All right, glancing around the bar, Odo tenses up while he notices a Bajoran man playing at the Dabo table. Odo goes over to the table and informs the man that he's unwelcome on the station. A fight breaks out between the two, and Commander Sisko forcibly has to separate Odo. And Odo tells the man he has 26 hours to leave to DS9. Which, why 26? Why not 24? Like,
it's a 26-hour day on Deep Space Nine.
Oh, is that what it is? Is the reason?
Yeah.
What a day of? But what do they orbit around?
The Bajoran sun.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense. So does the wormhole? Wait, does the wormhole move with them in the orbit?
Yes.
Oh,
are you just making shit up, Dave?
No.
Star charts right behind him. Like,
I never knew
right here.
I always thought it was like out of space.
I'm making this up. I feel like I know these are the answers, but like I'm just they're coming right out of my mouth like as soon as you ask the question. So,
but of course, this is the answer.
I barely have to think about them. Really, I'm pretty sure they're true.
Okay, they're true.
Okay. Okay, so elsewhere,
Well, I don't think that the orbit is 26 hours. I think that maybe that's what it is on Bajor, so they subscribe to Bajoran time.
that would make sense. Okay, that would make absolute more sense. I like to think about it that way. Okay, perfect.
I said it more eloquently. See how the words you use make a difference in terms of how you think about my thought?
Yeah, it definitely makes a
Oh,
difference.
Dave,
Okay.
What do you think, Kevin?
I don't know anymore. You've confused me.
Elsewhere on the promenade aboard, Jake Sisko approaches Quark's nephew, the only boy on the station of any species close to Jake age. They try to make friends. The Ferengi are standoffish at first, but gradually shares his name, Nog. So this is the beginning of Nog and Jake, like we mentioned before. Jake smiles, seeing the beginnings of a friendship. In Sisko's office, Odo explains his actions. The man, whose name is Ibudan, had lived aboard the station during the occupation, smuggling medical supplies and other black market goods to the planet. Some Bajorans consider him a hero, but Odo saw him as nothing but a ruthless profiteer. I thought he said he was a murderer. He says that later in the episode. I thought he said he killed a Cardassian, so nobody felt bad, but he's like, he murdered this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
He murdered the Cardassian, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, killing
Justice.
right.
He wouldn't take a bribe or something like that.
So, but he also has to say that he's like this ruthless profiteer and he's a stealer and he hoards medical supplies. He's a bad dude, right? Like other than just being a murderer, they had to give him even more things that he was bad.
We're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
We're
I know.
supposed
It's
to
just like,
understand that Odo thinks he's a bad seed and he doesn't want him on the station.
yeah. So they just like make him a murderer and everything else. Make him
It's like a cop. It's like you're a cop, and this guy that you put away got out, and now he's walking around your town, man, and he's messing with your everything, and you're just
yeah. He's a bad.
not on my watch. Odo says.
That's
Go to
right.
Cisco.
That's what was missing from this episode. Not on my watch.
That would have been great. A little finger wave. One of those
And now his watch is ended.
So Cisco agrees Abadan is undesirable, but does not see what they can do when he has not recently broken any laws, Federation laws. He might have broken like a Bajoran law or Cardassian law, but a law is a law, basically, is what Odo ends up saying later. He says, they kind of get into this argument where Cisco talks about, if you won't follow my rules, then I'll find somebody who will, and then Odo's like, laws change all the time. They're subject to, Cardassian law, Bajoran law, Federation law. Everybody's law is always moving. Justice is basically. So we kind of get that background with Odo. So
it's a bit of a vigilante.
Yeah, I like him. What do you guys think?
Justice is justice.
Justice is justice. He's a vigil. He's supposed to be a cop. He's supposed to be the top. He's the chief of security of the whole space station.
Yeah, but this isn't the only time him and Cisco butt heads over what should be allowed and shouldn't be.
No, it's the first. I guess that makes it somewhat notable, right? Like the fact that Odo is, he makes himself a suspect right off the bat because he's so emotional about the whole thing.
He has no qualms about it.
Yeah. He doesn't. He has no chill.
Yeah.
He should be. It's not really. It's not. Odo's usually pretty calculating. Takes his time and gathers his research and whatever. But here he's just like, no, you got to go. So whatever it was, the circumstances of his murder case, they must have been pretty brutal because he helped put him away. Right.
Yeah.
And then now he's out on a technicality, and now he's on the station. So he's like, I ain't having none of that.
No, he's the old lawman. That's what the Odo character is supposed to be. He's the old sheriff.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And Quark even says, I wrote it down at the beginning of the episode. He goes, everyone's coming in here because of the wormhole. It's the new frontier. And I was like, that's so like Westworld. Like that's so like, like this old Western town is what basically the DS9 is, which, you got the saloon bar, you got the, the doctor's office, you got the, you got a lot of the different things that an old Western town would have. And just the way it's kind of designed where it's got the upper balcony and the lower level. It's kind of
like the windows and everything else, and there's a lot of showdowns on the promenade in the show, right? I can think about the time where it was the Cisco and Kira with the Pa Wraith and the Prophet going head to head.
The Reckoning.
The Reckoning, yeah. I can't
Yeah,
wait for
more
that episode.
to happen on the promenade than anywhere else, than Ops or anywhere.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a huge
I-
set. They might as well use the whole thing as much as they can.
I'll meet you in the promenade.
Hey, Jaemeel, can you turn up your mic?
Gain. How about now?
It's better.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
good.
Sometimes it's a little hard to hear.
So Odo says in Ops that he is being okay, so this is after. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Jake and Nog play a practical joke. They do like the whole I don't want to say it, Garanian bowl lights that inflict a dining couple and turn them like all sorts of different colors. By the way, it might be the most gold moment of this episode is those people acting like they're covered in like these crazy Bolamite things. And that whole moment in the episode is just hilarious. The way they acted it and then the way they sit back down, they're just because it's like over at a certain point. It's
They
just
seem
like
like they're embarrassed by like what happens, and everyone starts looking at them. They just sit down.
They're like,
Back
oh,
then-
I guess we are crazy. We weren't turning blue and green.
Yeah, back then they spent roughly about 1.3 million on every episode of that was like their operating budget for every episode, give or take. But they spend more on some episodes than others. But this is where they spent their special effects money in this episode was people
Yeah,
turning
'cause
blue and green.
they do not show really like any like wormhole, a ship. They don't show anything outside whatsoever. It's a complete bottle episode. This episode, they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything.
Well, I think at this point you kind of want to see the station a bit more because this is what they filmed right after the pilot.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, the excitement's over. Now we're just out here. We're kind of settling into what's happening. And to start it off, we're gonna get like a little bit of a murder mystery. A little bit of a grounded story. Figure out who these people are.
Okay, so a security officer catches the boys before they run and marches them to the security office, while Kaiko looks on disapprovingly. Which that disapproving look was something else. I remember watching that. I was like, "Wow,
Is that what it said in the script? Like, look disapprovingly, and she's like, "Okay, here it goes."
Yeah, exactly what I guarantee that's probably what was in the
Of course,
script.
she was there. She had nothing to do, so she's just drinking at the bar.
She's on lunch. Come on.
That would have been interesting if they made Kaiko like this alcoholic, where she just she's always at the bar with Morn. That would have been hilarious.
But you see the actress, she gets like the notes. She's like, okay, look disappointedly. And she does it. She nails it. And the cut, and everyone's like, standing ovation. Great job. You murdered that. You murdered that look.
Oh yeah, they're like,
That's
you know what,
gonna be real.
you're getting a primetime Emmy for that. Let me tell you. Okay, so Cisco, Bashir, Odo, and Kira are in the deactivated holosuite after they find Ibudan's dead body on the floor. I'm guessing this. I guess he died.
He got a knife in his back.
Yeah, that was the next episode. That was that. I didn't remember that being the next scene. But that's what I wrote down.
The weird
Yeah, so
hands with the.
By the way, he makes no sound when he gets stabbed.
No.
It's just
Like a
stab. There's no there's no nothing. It just goes to commercial and we come back and then
All right.
you know.
But this was the clone who died.
Yes.
So the clone was getting a massage.
Mhm.
Clone's living the life, man.
Hey, clones are people too.
Okay, but how old is this clone? And why is he? Does he know he's about to die? Or was he just kind of a? I don't know. I just want to know how smart. Like, who was this guy? He's a murder victim.
If you're going to make a clone, you're not going to tell it you're going to kill it because it won't let you.
And it will kill you and take over your life.
I brought you to get a massage, so get
The real
naked.
question is, if you had a clone, why would you want to kill it? Especially if you were
to frame Moto.
Oh, so he created the clone to kill him, to kill the clone to frame Odo. That's the only reason.
Correct.
Yeah.
But
But,
like,
like,
was he hiding? Like, was he like the holodeck scene didn't seem like it was like really big. It just looked like a room. So was he just like chilling, watching him getting a massage in like a cloak?
I think he walked in with him.
Yeah,
Because,
too, because the record said that only he walked in, right?
Yeah.
But wouldn't it have detected 2 people still? This computer is not.
Signatures, 2 heat signatures.
It's a Cardassian computer, right?
Maybe they only detect the molecules, the DNA.
Maybe. Okay. I'll buy that.
Okay, well, I guess that's the plot hole that we can look at. Okay, so Odo reports that according to the security logs, the holosuite door was locked and only opened twice. The first to admit Ibadan, the second time presumably to let his killer exit. There is no evidence of a transporter being used. Cisco orders Bashir to sweep the suite for DNA to identify all persons who were inside the suite, and that's how we end up, getting down the road to this clone. But we'll get there. Cisco orders Kira to inform all dock ships that their departure will be delayed. In off, Cisco and Kira receive Zarya Bajoran, businessman from the Promenade. So, what do you think about this guy? The guy he's dressed in blue, and he said he talked to Abadan before his death, and he feared that Odo would murder him.
Well, it is Abaddon. That's who it's him in with a. This is a Scooby Doo episode, right?
Oh, I didn't know. I thought he was just the old guy. He was that guy too.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's Abaddon.
No,
he gets the mask taken off when Odo.
Someone different.
He's the old guy.
The old guy is Abaddon.
Yes,
but not the blue guy. The guy that's in the blue Bajoran, and he tells Cisco that he confided in him. And
that guy? That guy. Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, I don't like. He's the worst. I hate that guy.
Smug face. Just want to punch it.
Yeah, he was a smug Bajoran. I didn't like him. He was very blue.
Trying to rat out Odo. I don't like him.
Yeah, he was backing up this. Yeah, he was going after my Odo. Don't be going after Odo. He's a good guy. He's a good lawman. Good cop. Leave him alone.
Good cop. These people don't know what they got in Odo.
Yeah, Odo's solid, man. Like, everyone loves Odo for some reason. Bajorans and Cardassians love Odo somehow. So that's something.
These Bajorans do not, though. These Bajorans do not like Odo. They're going on about what he was the guy that was the security chief under the Cardassians, and now the Bajorans are like, why is he the security chief? How could we trust this guy? He's not one of us. Why didn't he change over? And they have a point.
Well, somehow
even Morn didn't like him.
Even Morn didn't like him.
Away from him.
Somehow, after the end of the occupation, he made a deal to work for the Bajoran militia. I don't know how he did it. There was only this 2-week period between the end of the occupation and when Deep Space Nine starts. And so I don't know. He take it up with the provisional government. I guess that's eventually. I guess he gave them the commission. They needed officers. They were trying to make a new military out of nothing in 2 weeks, and they're like, "Sure, Odo, yeah, okay, you're well respected at least." And
right, but it makes sense that the Bajorans are questioning him in this role, don't you guys think? Like, Jaemeel, what do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. And so the only way that it seems possible that you can accept someone of that nature is if he was like straight and narrow, even with the Cardassians there, and he had like a level of like, these are the rules, this are the rules that we're going to follow no matter who it is. If you're a Gull, doesn't matter. You got to follow the rules. And whether it's sided on for the Bajorans or for the Cardassians, that's the only way. Other than that, makes no sense. Should have got rid of him. Just like you get rid of a coach, you get rid of all the assistant coaches and the rest of the people that were underneath them, and you have a clean slate.
Unless he's Nick Nurse.
Sorry?
Unless he's Nick Nurse.
Well, he didn't become captain, so sorry, Odo.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's right. That's right. And he played for another team. He was on the Bajoran team. Okay, so then we get one of my favorite scenes of the episode is when Keiko's talking to Cisco in his quarters with Jake present, and she lobbies to open a school aboard the station, and as there's no fewer than 12 children in Jake's kind of like age on the station, and like Jake kind of says, I hate school, going on a computer can be boring a lot of the time. So we're already getting like this feeling that Jake's not going to be like this Starfleet officer type person. Is that
what we're establishing here?
I feel like we are.
He's not Starfleet. He doesn't want to go to school.
That's right. Yeah. He's not a nerd. He's not going to be.
He is. He's a writer. He's more of a.
He's a journalist.
He's a journalist. Yeah, writer and a journalist.
Right. I think I do think we're kind of setting up that he's not going to be. I don't know. Maybe it's just a kid being a kid. But I do think that they think that way sometimes. They know they have to take this character somewhere. Otherwise, he's going to be Alexander, and we don't want Alexander, guys.
No, you got a good point, Jeff.
Kevin, feelings on Alexander versus Jake?
Well, Jake, I'll take Jake over Alexander, but they're both pretty bad.
Would you take Jake over Wesley?
No.
Oh, I would.
Yes, no, I don't know.
They're about the same, right?
They are about
Molly Walker.
Hmm?
Jake over was it Molly Walker? Was it from Voyager? What's her name?
Oh, you mean
Naomi Wildman?
Naomi Wildman?
Yeah, I don't care about her at all.
Why did they do that? Oh,
She's the
Nobody cared
captain's
about that.
assistant, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Captain assistant.
that was awful. She's the worst out of all of them.
Yay! I win.
Yeah, I think so. She gets the worst kid for sure of the
Naomi
four.
Wildman gets the worst, though. More than Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Alexander held a batleth, so
Yeah, Alexander would, definitely take it Naomi Wildman down. So they would not if you put both of them in a room with a batleth. I like Alexander's chances to come out alive. Okay, so we have Bashir reports that only 5 persons' DNA traces can be found in the holosuite, Abadan, and those of the 4 officers that were there. So Kira is baffled. Abadan entered the room alone, and the door stays locked until the killer exited, which is impossible. Odo grimly says that the only explanation is that the killer was a shapeshifter like himself who could enter the room through the cracks in the door. Which, what an idiot Odo is. Like, what are you doing? This is where your mind goes.
maybe it was me who killed him.
Yeah, you know what? It might have been me. This other guy saying it probably was me. Why don't I just kind of throw some more gasoline on this fire?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad in a lot of ways. That it's like it doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing, or at least Cisco's trying to be professional about it.
Yeah. So he said,
Throughout the
Oh, go
whole
ahead.
series, I always feel like Odo doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just kind of winging it the entire time.
He has a book. It's like Security for Dummies. He's like, underneath.
Yeah.
It's like, who's your main suspect? Quark?
Quark.
Quark? He has to be involved somehow. That breaks it down for majority of his theories regarding a situation.
yeah, Odo is a bit of a conspiracy theory.
Well,
He's a theorist.
Think about it too. Like Odo's main adversary is Quark. Quark always loses at everything. Like he's not some super villain. He's a pretty easy person to defeat.
Yeah, this Abadan is more of a super villain.
Yeah, Abadan's more capable.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
pretty nefarious to have the whole clone and everything. That's
Clone, and he had a Scooby-Doo mask.
Yeah,
Or
that's
he
some
was
top-tier-
dressed as this old guy who was looked really like a creepy old wizard or something. Which was trying to. And then at the end, Odo just pulls off the mask. I know I'm not there yet, but that's my favorite part.
coming soon.
It is
Yeah.
kind of
Almost
the
there.
most ridiculous part of the episode for sure. Okay, so
About that, I looked when I was watching it today. I was like, he's not going to just rip. Oh God, he is just going to rip.
He's
off-
like, and you never bought a ticket to be here. And then it's so good.
all right, so Odo says in Ops that he is being framed. It is a very neat package. Only a shapeshifter could have entered the holosuite in order to murder Abadan. Abadan's calendar said he was going to meet with Odo at the same time he was murdered. Since Odo would be expected to investigate the murder, traces of his DNA would be left at the crime scene. So, everything is just pointing at Odo, pointing at Odo, pointing at Odo.
Well, especially only a changeling. That is the only possibility. This is Star Trek. This is outer space. A lot of weird stuff happens. So they're like, okay, the only one who could get in the holosuite was Odo because he's the one who gets be able to get through the cracks, right? But people can teleport in this like universe. There's transporters, even whatever. Like there's the Q continuum can flash in and out wherever they want. And we obviously there wasn't at least one more plausible explanation on what could have happened with the clone, right? So it's not like it's a slam dunk. This case it's very circumstantial.
Yeah, Odo even says Kira asks him do you have an alibi? He goes, well, no, at the time I was a pail in the back of my office. Just everything about it is just like no,
you're screwed. At this point, you don't even know who Odo is, so you're like, I don't know. But I saw L.A. Law. There's some holes in this case. I can. It's not holding together.
Okay, yeah.
We know that Abaddon was a bad guy. There's something fishy. There's something. There's something suspicious.
Yeah. So Kira instructs Bashir to go sweep Abaddon's quarters about the freighter aboard the freighter. Find any DNA. Find any suspicious things or whatever. So that happens, and he has this light, and it's just like a glass tube, and he's just like, "I've got it." Like nothing happens. Like there's no special effect whatsoever. It's ridiculous.
All episode saving that money.
They really saved the money on this episode. I mean, they did no special effects other than people turning green and yellow, and that's about it. And the Bolomites, I guess, might have been a special effect, but I don't know. Okay. So Quark's brother Rom is initially hostile towards the idea of Nog enrolling in a Federation-run school. He tells Keiko, basically, my son won't be taught by a woman. A human woman?
Well, yeah. This is really the first introduction to Rom, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
And
not the real Rom.
Oh.
This is real Rom.
This is Rom.
It isn't though. They changed him so much.
I know that's the point I'm going to make. Is he has the biggest arc of any character potentially because he. We saw Garrick was introduced last episode, the one before this. He's pretty much as he is in that first appearance, as he is throughout the show. Rom is the most different from his first appearance and until who he ends up. Just philosophically, the way he plays the character, everything. He's just a very different type of character. In this episode, he's kind of he doesn't even know what he is. He's kind of like this bumbly, chauvinistic.
They could have just called him Ferengi too.
Guy, Ferengi number 2, and but because there's mention in the pilot of a brother. He's his brother's boy, so we have Rom's father, Nog's father, Rom.
Yeah, do we know yet that he's Quark's brother?
Yes.
It is mentioned in this episode, or
it's established that Nog is Quark's nephew.
Nephew. Okay,
I guess it's possible Rom could be another. There could be another brother.
He does say I watched 3 episodes today, but he does say in one of the early episodes that it's his brother's boy. Mm-hmm. It's his nephew, but he also says my brother's boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's this is Quark's brother. Okay, here we go.
Right. All right, so Quark overhears, I think some Bajorans talking about Odo, and that Odo, might be a collaborator, but and Quark says he's no collaborator, but he's no murderer or something like that. He kind of defends Odo, even though he's kind of like his arch enemy. Anyway, so moving on. Nevertheless, Zarya returns to Ops with a group of Bajorans for support to confront Sisko with their suspicion. So then Kira kind of flips out, and I remember all these Bajorans are kind of making valid points to Sisko, and Kira's like, "But come on, Captain, you can't be taking this seriously." It's basically exactly what's happening, and it's hilarious to me. Just the whole. You're right. This is Scooby Doo.
My favorite part is when they get kicked off of Ops and they just saunter to the turbo lift. And he puts his hands in his pocket as he goes down. It's just so how are you gonna play that scene? It's I'll just go back to the turbo lift pockets and then go down.
Try look
it just seems so unnatural.
Oh yeah, so stiff.
He's the
sure. All Okay, so in the infirmary, Bashir reports to Odo that he has found he's found the destroyed remains of a biological sample container in Abadan's quarters. It appears that Abadan was conducting some sort of medical experiment, but Odo says that Abadan was neither a scientist nor a doctor. Bashir finds a small biological sample in the remains of the container. When he puts it into the solution to culture, its cells begin dividing rapidly. At that point, like, shouldn't he know it's a clone? Like, right at that moment.
If he was a better doctor.
Yeah. He wasn't thinking about pussy the whole time.
Yeah.
What's Jedzia wearing right now?
Yeah. I wonder how many more like meditation sessions I need to do before I can impress her.
He's like, I want to drill that trill.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't considered that.
I like that for a t-shirt. I want to drill that.
Well, cold hands, watch out.
Cold hands, yeah. Okay, so Odo is summoned to Ops, where Cisco reluctantly informs him that he is relieving him of duty. He assures Odo that...
I have a big problem with this.
Okay.
How big of a dick is Cisco to call Odo to come to Ops, to tell him he's relieved, to go back to his office, to pack up his stuff? You could have just went over to security and just say, "Hey, I got to
come to him." No, he made Odo come upstairs. You think that
all the way?
Yeah,
you're right.
I didn't consider that.
I'd be pissed too if I was Odo. Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe he's just point on principle. He's like, you made me walk all the way up here, you dick. You know. He's like, justice is justice. Let's get with the program here. Come on. This is injustice, making me walk all the way up here, taking this lame ass elevator with these stiff heads over here. Come on. What are we doing?
And it's a walk back too. Everyone knows he got fired.
Yeah. Okay, so he's summoned to Ops. He assures Odo that he does not believe the majority's suspicions of him, but Odo sarcastically replies, he's like, yeah, you kind of do, though. You know, you
don't know me. You kind of do.
Yeah, you kind of worried that I did this. Okay. Cisco would be inhuman if a small part of him did not believe Odo might be guilty. Odo returns to his office and finds it vandalized. His data pads are literally all over the floor. His monitors have been smashed. The word shifter sprayed across the wall. As he starts to clear up, Quark happens by and offers to find out who did it. Chafing at the idea of asking the Ferengi for help, Odo declines. Okay, so any thoughts on this, guys? Dave, what do you think?
Well, I think that your last sentence is especially poignant. I hadn't really considered that. So yeah, so Odo is basically at his lowest here. He's having one of the toughest times ever. He's framed for murder. He's been fired. He can't even investigate. He can't even put this together, and he won't even ask Quark for help. That's how bad. That's how much he doesn't like Quark. Or how much he.
I wonder how easy it is to get into the security office when nobody's in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not like this vigilante group are like technologically like advanced or they just look like
just people that happen to be in the bar.
I mean, I guess you just crank that thing open with a crowbar or something. You're in there pretty quick. I don't know how easy it is to break in. They don't really show us, but I guess it's pretty easy. Then he asked Quark if he would be interested in Odo working for him, since it looks like Odo will be out of a job soon. Quark is briefly enthralled by the idea of having a shapeshifter to use in various dealings before he realizes Odo is joking with him. Quark, that would be useful for Quark. He could really get the good stealing and, get some good bribing with a shapeshifter.
Could Odo pretend to be a Dabo table?
Yeah, he could do anything. Yeah, he could do. Yeah, be an Dabo table, and the house always wins, or the house wins 90% of the time.
Yeah, he can be anything but a nose. The nose is too complicated.
That is very complicated. The nose. Yeah, can't shapeshifters? Yeah, they can make themselves look like like Martok or whatever person, right? Like they can do that, but they can't make a nose. Like, why couldn't they just make Odo not? Why did they make him look so alien? That's a good question.
I think to remind us he is an alien.
Right, but they don't need to remind us with lots of aliens that they're just like, especially the original series, everybody just looks like a human that's an alien. I mean,
that's clearly what they're going for with Odo. They want us to recognize that he's not a human, that he's different, and that's it. Like really, like it's why Spock has pointed ears. It's why Data wears yellow makeup. It's just
Right,
they stand out.
But the Vulcans and the Data, and they can't change their physical form the way Odo
Yeah,
can.
well, no, he's got that written into his character. Yeah, but so he can turn into a rat or into a a snake or a bird or whatever, but or a a chair. But
All I'm saying is he could have probably looked like Rene Aubergine or whatever, but like because they could have did what like X-Men did with Mystique in the most recent movies, where they're like, we're not gonna make you blue all the time, just look like Jennifer Lawrence, like they could have done that with Odo, but they chose not to. I'm glad they didn't actually, because I think you're right about that we need him to look different. But I was just thinking, watching this first episode, like the makeup alone, have to wear on that on your face the whole week or whatever, it's gotta suck. I mean, especially for Quark. I mean, those big ears, and him and Rom and Nog, but that makeup must have been hot and heavy and gross. And
They
I think it was
better have gotten paid more than Jake. They had to.
well, yeah, they have to be there at 4 a.m. or 3, even earlier than that in some cases, because they have to get that makeup on for 5 hours in a lot of cases. Then it takes them like an hour or two to take it off.
All Jake had to do was wear those stupid jumpsuits.
Oh my god, the jumpsuits.
yeah, a jumpsuit's on a man too. Not really always the best idea. I mean, we learned this from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. There's lots of jumpsuits going on, and at least they learned, stop making them white.
I think they really struggled. Yeah, what do civilians wear in the future? Because they had like the look of the Starfleet officers, and that was pretty big. Like, okay, I get that, or I understand why they're dressed like this. I guess it's the future. But when they went, any civilian wear always looked like a weird onesie.
Yeah,
with some kind
of onesies,
some kind of weird pattern on it. Yeah,
but we don't mind the 7 and 9 onesie. We'll take that one.
Which was kind of different in Picard. Picard, like you see a lot of people just kind of wearing kind of typical 21st century civilian clothing, some variations, but they've moved away from what they were showing us, that this was how, because it kind of starts with the Next Generation in the 80s, and it just carries through into the whole 90s as well. Mostly for worse.
Yeah, they went away from it, and I don't know. Do we hate it? I don't know. Do we want it back? Do we want the onesies back? Did it give something?
No.
What do you like the onesies? But it does make it, it's so bad it's Star Trek. It's Star Trek. I'm not saying I want it, but it does. It gives it that 80s, 90s nostalgia that you kind of go, that was fucked up. Why did they do that? Okay, so in the infirmary, Bashir and Dax show Sisko the sample for Ibodan's container, which has been growing exponentially and is now a large flesh-colored blob. Both Bashir and Dax are sure it is a vital clue, but cannot yet say what it is. They still don't know.
It's just a blob. I don't know. Yeah, we'll tell you exactly the amount of minutes left until we can wrap up this mystery.
Yeah, they're like, it's humanoid DNA, but I don't know.
It's growing at the speed of plot. We can't help it. So
that's exactly right. Growing at the speed of plot. That's perfect. Sisko invites Dax to lunch, and Bashir mistakenly thinks he's being invited as well, accepts. To defuse the awkward moment, Dax begs off, leaving Sisko and Bashir to go by themselves.
That's my favorite moments.
Yeah, it's so great. Like, she just ignores him, and it's like, I'm going with Sisko. So yeah, she fucks off.
Sisko invites her to lunch, and then the look on Sisko's face when it's the doctor that says yes, he's like, oh shit. Hope he doesn't try to fuck me.
I've heard rumors about how he and Garrick were making googly eyes together.
Yeah. Right. There was some vibes going on at the Replimat that day.
It's like that episode has been written yet, or it hasn't been filmed yet, but we know it's coming.
Yeah, I guess but like the fact that Sisko is as equally annoyed with Bashir, and everyone's clearly annoyed with Bashir, and yet he somehow they were surprised that we weren't endeared with his character early on. I'm not really putting it together, or did they just like?
Well, he basically too annoys O'Brien into a friendship later on.
He's so persistent. Like that's literally his character. He just doesn't stop nagging you, and then everybody's like, "Ah, fuck!" And then everybody just gets used to him later, and everybody likes him. Okay, so over lunch, Bashir admits that he is attracted to Dax, but does not want to step on Cisco's toes, since Cisco has known her far longer. Cisco explains to the doctor that all previous years he knew Dax, the Trill was his male mentor and friend Curzon. Therefore, Cisco assures Bashir that he's not interested in Dax romantically, and the young doctor is free to choose to pursue Dax in that manner.
Good luck, homie.
He's free, but he's not going to get anywhere.
Now, you remember the episode where they all get like the love potion, right, from Luxana Troy, and they're all running around like wanting to hook up with each other. It's like a crazy like farce. You heard that one? It's like in the second season. I think it's like the Festival of Love or something's going on.
Can't wait.
Okay, well, when that happens, like there's like so Bashir and Kira have this attraction for each other. They're all making out because it's all like subconsciously like they're into each other. And so Dax was into Cisco, but Cisco, I can't remember who Cisco was into, but it wasn't Dax. And so it was just kind of like this weird thing. So like everyone thinks that Cisco and Dax are going to hook up, which they never do, except in the mirror universe.
Right. We'll get there with the Mirror Universe. I do think that DS9 did Mirror Universe very well.
Oh yeah.
It's always a good episode.
So wait, remind me, in the mirror episodes, did Keiko do anything?
There was never a mirror Keiko that I saw.
See, missed opportunity.
Yeah, because look at in Discovery, they had the what was her name? The captain that was Asian. And...
Oh, Giorgio. You're thinking of Giorgio?
Giorgio.
Oh,
yeah, Giorgio. Yeah, like Keiko. I know
they're very different. Like
they're very different. Yeah, but like I think like equally, we never got to see Prime Giorgio, but we know Prime Keiko. So it would have been interesting to see a mirror Keiko.
Yeah, I get I'd say Rosalind Chow reminds me more of like some other Mirror Universe characters, but like I think exactly. Her Pa Wraith version would have been very similar. Probably to her Mirror Universe, but we only like the Mirror O'Brien didn't seem to have a wife in the same way that the Prime one did.
Right. Yes, that's right. Okay, so back to this episode. So Miles is helping Keiko to set up their new schoolhouse and has replicated an old-fashioned schoolhouse bell. Molly from her father's arms says that she wishes she could attend her mother's school. Keiko Riley responds to her that she does too. At least that way she would know someone who would show up. Oh, so sad. She's so depressing. You just want to feel sorry for her. They are interrupted by the sound of an angry mob on their way to Odo's office, screaming that he's a murderer and a freak. O'Brien signals ops to send them security, and then he signals Commander Cisco, and he needs his presence to handle the mob. He's like, "Look, you better get down here, because like,
we need someone who's great at making speeches."
Yeah, we need someone who can overact, and it's not me.
Why could we call for both security and Cisco at the same time?
Yeah, I know. Why do you have to do two separate calls?
He's got the computer working very well yet.
Was it that, or was it to show like there's two different like structures on the station? There's Starfleet, and then there's like the security, which is run by the Bajoran. So he's doing both. He's making two different calls.
That's as plausible of an explanation as any. So let's go with that.
26 hours.
Yeah, it's a 26-hour day.
Yep. 26-hour day. Right. They are interrupted. Okay, so from afar, Bashir observes the mob outside Odo's office, trapping him inside and yelling for his head. Turning back to Abidam's blob amazingly has grown much larger. So, still don't know. Cisco and security arrive to see the mob growing larger and more violent, while Kira secures the turbolift. More armed security arrives. Cisco plants himself in front of the door and defends the constable, telling the Bajorans not to condemn the man just because he happens to be different than them. And it's like, is that that's not why they're condemning him? I mean, like they are calling him things, but they're mostly mad at him for the murdering
and working for the Cardassians.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're working with the Cardassians. Those two things.
Do you think Cisco should have put him in the brig?
Yeah, probably.
Like the prime suspect.
Does he have enough evidence to arrest him?
Especially as a shapeshifter, he can like leave, right?
Yeah, they will
treat like some kind of watch.
Yeah, absolutely. They will treat shapeshifters a lot more harshly when they're suspected of bad things later on in the series, right? Like, so yeah, they're not very like weary of like Odo because they're like, yeah, he's probably a good guy. So like,
This is justice. He's a good guy.
yeah, probably he's probably doing okay. Okay, so meanwhile, Bashir and Dax are frantically analyzing the blob. And which has grown larger, still like a man-sized humanoid. That's when Bashir makes a realization, and they appear to the mob, announcing that they have a breakthrough in the case. The murder victim was not Ibadan. Bashir's pronouncement stuns everyone there, including Odo, and they leave. They leave to the infirmary with Cisco and Odo, while Kira and O'Brien tell the crowd to disperse. There's also like a little skirmish where Kira kicks some ass. Even like O'Brien gets a good punch in.
Yeah.
And someone in the mob. But that was exciting. What did you? I don't think I've ever.
That's where the money went.
That's where the money went to the stunt.
Well, yeah, after the fleas, after the change the colors, right? Then it went to choreography. Yes. Yeah, and the itching, like that. Yeah, that was choreography in itself, really.
Yeah,
because they looked distressed.
Right. Okay, so the man who murdered Abaddon was Abaddon's clone, whom Abaddon created himself specifically to kill, then to frame Odo for the crime. As Odo later finds out, one of the dissidents with whom Abaddon has associated in prison was a Bajoran geneticist who had been jailed for conducting cloning experiments. Bashir and Dax have already checked the victim's DNA and found the signature gene sequence degradation identified him as a clone. The second clone will gain consciousness in a few hours and will be more or less an exact copy of Abaddon, though hopefully not psychologically. So like, why wouldn't he be different? Like that, like they're bringing back this Abaddon, okay, this clone that's a clone of a criminal that they know is a bad guy. Will What
are you saying? Like, you want them to abort the clone?
I think it's a question that they don't even bring up in the episode, and I'm surprised they do not. Like, I'm surprised Odo's like, we have to kill this clone. This clone's going to be a clone of it. Like,
I don't think you can subject, like, yeah, it's a nature nurture argument, but like, he hasn't done anything. Like, the clone's innocent, so it can be whatever.
Right, but it's like pre-crime. Like, there's a lot of interesting things they could have like gone into this, and been like, should they have killed this thing they created by putting it in like a test tube, and then like it just exponentially grew into
like
a
if you
bulb.
had the clone of Hitler, is he allowed to just like go on? Hey, man, I'm just now he gets renamed.
And let him live and have everyone kick his ass.
It's a good philosophical question,
Well, as it's presented, this kind of clone is just like it's just like you're a blank slate. You're just a person who has just been born, so you can be whoever you want to be. You might have some predispositions, you might have some kind of like things that you were just born a certain way, whatever those things are. But I don't know if outside of that you can condemn anybody. You can condemn a clone.
Right. Okay. So, all right. Now Odo concentrates on finding Abaddon, who turns out to be masquerading as an elderly Bajoran man who arrived a short time ago on a ship. Odo captures him aboard the ship for departure from the station, pulling off his mask and informing him that killing his own clone still makes him guilty of murder. Thoughts on this scene, guys? I mean, this is literally the Scooby-Doo moment.
Yeah.
Kevin?
He would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you damn kids.
You meddling kids. And the meddling kids, I guess, were
Dax, right?
In Star Trek, he pulled off a mask to reveal the real person.
Yeah, that's the best part, is that it was just a mask.
They had $1.5 million per episode to make these things. Like, come on.
What was spent on this week? That's my question.
So he goes out of his way to clone himself or have a clone, but doesn't take the time to like, hey, why not have plastic surgery to like change his features? Nah, man, I like this face too much. I'm just gonna wear a mask that can easily be peeled off because this is the 21st century after all.
Yeah, because they almost always surgically alter. They do it temporarily most of the time, and yet this guy just. I'm just gonna get a mask from the shop down the way.
Yeah, Eric gave it to me. He made it at his tailor shop. like, what- I mean, yeah, like that's probably they could have done something where like they, it just looked like I thought it was an older Abaddon. That's why he was old. I was like, oh, it's old Abaddon, and he's cloning like the younger version of himself, or his clone is from, so many years of doing this that he's like an older guy now. I wish they kind of did that. That would have been
more interesting than a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, like you're old Abaddon. How long have you been doing this? That would have been more interesting. See, they needed me on the writing team. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe there wasn't enough time for that.
No, they only had $1.5 million.
Well, they had this whole Keiko's the school teacher B plot that we had to see through too, right? So it was important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so Commander's log. This is start date 46421. I thought, all right, these start date numbers. I just want to briefly talk about this. So it's 46421. In Star Voyager, I was watching. It was always like 51 blah 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 number. Did they actually kind of go by like a numbered here thing, like where it actually makes sense?
Yeah,
I always thought it was just random gibberish numbers.
The Battle of what isn't the Battle of Worf 359 47988?
No, it would have been 43598.
So the end of Next Generation is 47988 then.
Yes, because so like the second number of a star date is the season number. Okay, so if it's 4-1, that's season 1, 4-2, etc. I think that Deep Space Nine's star dates start with 5 to make them different than Next Gen, which is start with 4, because star dates don't really matter. They don't really make sense properly. They're just
they do kind of go in like an order though, where it's like I'm guessing why it's 46421 is because I'm guessing TNG was in season 6 and they were just following TNG's
right. Exactly.
Right. Okay, so Ivan has been turned over to the Bajoran authorities just hours after his clone gained consciousness and began a new life. The perpetrators of the mob violence have retreated into their own business. To my knowledge, Odo has received no apologies. Meanwhile, life in the station has begun to return to normal. In her empty schoolroom, Keiko glumly checks the time. Cisco enters with Jake, and to her surprise, Rom enters a few minutes later with Nog. Nog starts to take the desk next to Jake's, but Rom tells him to sit on the other side of the room, not wanting him to have anything to do with that human boy. Apparently, he and Cisco. Apparently, he and Cisco are one of the same mind on the subject. A short time later, 2 other Bajoran children are escorted in by their parents, and Keiko happily introduces herself and begins her lesson plan. How long does this last as her as a teacher?
A few seasons.
Yeah.
Like maybe 2, 3. It's a while.
I think the school kind of shuts down once the war kicks off.
I feel like it's whenever Nog, I think, goes to Starfleet Academy. It's kind of when that story with the school ends, or maybe it's a little bit before.
Did my job.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, well, she did. She does. She turns him from like a petty criminal on the promenade into a Starfleet officer. So it's pretty.
She
impressive.
dropped that bell.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. She said, "No more teaching you children. I'm going to grow some plants."
You're on your own.
You want to learn about horticulture? Let's go.
What strikes me about that scene though is everyone's late. Everyone, nobody was on time. Not one person in the future.
It's 26-hour day. There's a few more extra minutes, right?
That's
what I would do with a 26-hour day. I'd just be late for every meeting. I'd just be like,
Okay, well, that's the end of the episode, guys. It's okay. I mean, do we want to rate the episode? I know Dave's got his rating.
Oh, let's get the rating in here. Hold on. Here, I got to go audio only. Here, we'll get you guys get in here. And then, listen, we're going into some deep rating action here. Here, all right. That sounded sexual. Wasn't intended to.
Scary.
It actually didn't sound sexual, just weird.
Ooh. Okay, so you guys all see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've been rating these episodes as we've been going. Depending on who's on what episode. You can always, and anything that's grayed out, if you want to chime in and add to that after the fact, you may. It just depends if you were on that particular recap or not. So this is called A Man Alone. I gave it a 5.3. Jeff gave it a 6.5. Kevin is giving it a 5.0. The IMDb rating for this episode is 6.9. So the average of that plus ours at the 5.6 gives this episode an overall 6.3, which I think is maybe a bit generous. So, Jaemeel, where are you going to weigh in on this? Because this is your vote is going to affect how this ends up.
I'll give it a 5. Straight 5.
A 5. Wow, you're going the same as Kevin, so that's bringing the rating down a little bit. Right. Did you want to weigh in on last week's episode, past prologue, or do you can sit on that?
Talalos?
Yeah, Talalos.
Yes.
Talalos.
Talalos. Man, I actually like that episode a lot more. So I would say I give it a 5.5.
All right. And let's if you want to rate the pilot now, we have to kind of figure out if we want to rate like part 1s and part 2 separately, or if we want to just combine it. Like IMDb breaks it out. Like everyone can like in a lot of ways they are 2 episodes, like the pilots and things like that. So I think we're going to continue to treat them as such. But if you wanted to vote on those ones, you may do so.
I like Emissary a lot. It really helped as a young boy understand non-linear time. It really broke it down for me.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I get the Cisco in the beginning of the episode. Help me!
You get some great quotes in that episode. It's
I love that. So, part 1 I feel is stronger than part 2. So
Interesting, because most of us felt differently, except for Kevin, who felt the same about both.
I'm an Act 1 type of dude. I've always been. I like the establishing of characters, and Kira's speech. I'm just a Bajoran, that she says. I was never fond of it. Plus the haircut. So I'm gonna give part 1. I'm gonna give, let's say a 7. Part 2 a 6.5.
A little lower than the IMDb averages and also our rating. So far the pilot is the best episode so far, and we're going a little bit downhill from there as it stands. We're hoping for a little bit of a rebound with Babel on this next one. Here, I'm just going to take that away. Let's bring me back, and wow, here. Isn't that fancy? Okay, so
it is fancy. Sorry, you seemed lost in thought for a second.
No, I was kind of like, okay. I like the ratings. My dad. We started doing this over on the original series pre-watch episodes we've been doing, and so I figured, we're gonna probably do it for the movies too, because we just got through the first 5 Star Trek movies. And my God,
Star Trek 5.
Star Trek 5 it gets off light in its reputation. It is not a good movie. It is, but
it's so bad.
It's so much, but it's so awesome.
I gave it a 2 out of 10. How much I did like that movie. Yeah, I was generous.
Yeah. But we're headed into Star Trek 6, which is even like probably the best one, maybe arguably.
Fantastic. Don't believe him. Don't trust him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta get some clips for that, man. And the stories from that movie and the whole premise, it's great. We're doing that Saturday. I'm excited to talk about Star Trek 6. The Undiscovered Country. That's what it's called.
That speech of
that's when I got the poster.
Yeah, I see it. It's awesome. That's a great poster. Let's take a moment. Like, that poster is an awesome poster. Not Star Trek poster in general.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I got that from Josh Shields. He his uncle had it lying around his house, and they didn't want it anymore, so I got it for nothing. Isn't that amazing?
want it
A
anymore.
very iconic Star Trek poster too. Like when
Yeah.
you see that, you go, "Oh yeah, that's Star Trek."
And you can see I got I got like the original LP Star Trek. I don't know if it's original. I think it's actually a reprint. But it's. I don't know. I got a closer look at it, but it's the Star Trek like LP of the Cage, where no man has gone before, Star Trek pilots. And then of course we got Paul Henderson, Canada 1972. Of course, and then we got the Eiffel Tower, which is a homage to the president of the Federation. His office, or his or her office, is in Paris, so that's a little bit of a nod to that. And then the globe, of course, because Earth is part of space. And then I got Rob Cisternino back there, holding things together, because he's like, the man, the podcast god that he is. And then, over there, I got a TV guide, map of outer space in the 24th century, showing where all the that was like a pull-out poster out of a little magazine. Sorry, that was a little show and tell of my wall. I've been looking at my backdrop.
Okay, so that's been that's been DS9.
Oh, maybe I should have done that after the show was over. I could have done that after.
No, it's perfect. You did it during the show.
I like it as like that's the capper for the episode. That was perfect.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, so we're signing off here. Live long and prosper, and come back next week when we talk about episode
Babel.
5. Babel.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna find out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll be it. Thanks for joining me, Jaemeel Robinson, Kevin Millard, Dave Mater. You've been great to go back. What is this? 27 years ago to go back and watch this episode, and see people turn yellow and green and everything that will happen in this episode. I think Cisco might have beat Jake. I'm not sure what happened when he ran into his room, but something happened.
Next week is a virus episode, Jeff.
Oh yes,
It's a pandemic episode. This is perfect.
They were very excited. He made the whole trivial debates we did about the pandemic.
And now we get a Star Trek episode about a pandemic.
It was just filled with joy. Everyone.
Well, it's actually it's not a pandemic. It's on a station only. It's probably just an epidemic.
No, epidemic's bigger than a pandemic, isn't it?
So it's just a demic.
It's just a pandemic. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. I think we need to sign off. We're giving people too much at this point.